What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Opening line presented by EliteSportsBetting.com on August 4th. It's been a little bit since we've been on here. Frank, how are we doing today? How's your week been going with your bets? You've been on a little bit of a hot streak going here.
Yeah, I do. Won the Mariners bet on, what was that, Monday. Didn't have a show then went 5-0 yesterday. So 6-0 week so far. Probably talked myself into 0-5 today, but yeah, that's okay. It's been a good little run here, I think, since July, up around 15%, which is good. Really can't beat a nice little run. Maybe if it continues for a little while, can kind of solidify myself into a nice little season here for baseball. It's not the easiest sport. You have to kind of grind away and pay attention to what you're doing. And, it's not exactly like college basketball where, you kind of just click some buttons and go about your day. And, by the end of the year, you make some money. Baseball is a little bit more grindy, I guess is a good way to put it.
Yeah, that's for sure. With how the starting pitching, I think there was like a stretch back towards the All-Star game that the starting pitching was just a mess every single day. COVID still kind of been a little bit of a factor, but had a bad last week of July, but good start to August so far. So we kind of get back on track there. Head over to EliteSportsBetting.com, get the bet pack. Frank, like he said, been crushing it. Siege has been doing well. He's 50 some units. Rob has been doing good. Ricky's over there, tons and tons of plays. So head over to EliteSportsBetting.com. Get all baseball plays. Get the early bird special for NFL, as we are only a month away from NFL and less than a month for college football. So head over to EliteSportsBetting.com for all your football needs. At Betcha is sponsoring today's opening line. Use code ELITE for $100 deposit bonus. So head over there to Betcha. Use $100 deposit bonus using the code ELITE. And as always, we are streaming live on Twitch at Elite Betting and on the Elite Sports Network at YouTube. Hit the subscribe and follow button there. So let's get into it. What do people want? Let's get into our Pittsburgh Pirates on the road to Milwaukee. Steven Brault on the mound against Freddie Peralta. Peralta minus 270 favorite at home. And the total in this game sitting at 8 with some juice towards the over. Any interest in this game? Is this number too high here, as the Pirates have been big comeback last night, but struggling?
Yeah. Is it too high? Yeah, but, I don't know. Yeah, you come back. It's Steven Brault making his first start. He pitched in the minors, looked pretty good. And, for the short stint that he was there last year, Brault wasn't bad. He really wasn't. I'm a big Steven Brault hater. I described him as Jeff Locke 2.0, where he just doesn't throw enough strikes. He gets hit hard, has too many walks. He had too many walks last year, but he really didn't give up any homers or anything, really limited hard contact. So you can get away with that. We see, McCullers, he's walks 3-4 guys to start, and we were on him last night, and he's still pitching really well because he's avoiding, any catastrophe with guys on base, especially in the home run category. Brault did that last year. Now, what are we going to get from Brault? I don't know. He looked good in all honesty in the minors. He pitched like a 1.42 ERA in 4 starts. He threw to 15 guys, 4 innings in his last start. That's been a progressive, sort of thing. He started at 8, 11, 12, 15. Probably going to be in that range, I would guess, today, regardless. Somewhere around 4 innings would be my guess, depending on how it goes. All of that said, I don't know if I'm getting excited to back the Pirates bullpen for 5 innings. It's really hard to account for that. That's why this number is as high as it is. In all honesty, I think this number would be Pirates plus 210, something like that. If it was just like middle of the season, normal Steven Brault with a 4.10 ERA, I think that's about what we would get. And we're not getting that, obviously. So that number is a little bit elevated. And we're going to see numbers like this against the Orioles and the Pirates and all of these teams. We see this in hockey, right? Like we see this in every sport. At the end of the year, you're going to have to bite your tongue and try to play some games that you have guys listed as a plus 200 dog. I didn't play this game just because I don't know what we're going to get out of Brault or if he's even going to be decent coming off injury. I think he's tore his lats pretty badly and hasn't pitched this year. So, yeah, I do think this number's high. I just don't really care to get involved in this one.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it. I don't know what Steven Brault's giving us today. It's one of those things. If he has a tough 3 innings where he's throwing a lot of pitches, and even if he doesn't give up runs, they could just kind of be like, all right, let's give it a rest here. Peralta's been fantastic. I think I said it the last time we were on and he was starting. He could have like the lowest ERA on every team in the MLB, and he's third on the Brewers.
Right.
So they have been fantastic. John has joined us this morning to talk crap on how the Dodgers stink. We hope they all do, but they don't. But
I hope they continue to stink.
Peralta has just been fantastic. So I think this number's warranted, like you said, with 5 innings probably of Pirates bullpen.
At least 5.
Like you're that's not a good, like the back end still solid, like Bednar's still there, and you got some pieces there, but outside of that, it's not anything I really want to get involved with. For sure. Philly at Washington, next game on the board, Chase Anderson and Espino at minus 110 favorite at home total in this game, 9.5 with some heavy juice towards the under. Chase Anderson, he was terrible, and then I kind of found myself backing him a little bit, if I remember correctly, at the beginning of the year. Hasn't been making too many starts for Philly, but Philly's making a run here towards this NL East. Anything you like in this game between these two NL East foes?
Yeah, I was grossly gonna back Chase Anderson here. The books I can play, it's 100 minus 108 and 101 bet online. I wanted to play 102. That's my number. And I went to submit it and it went to 101. We've talked about this. You got to have a cutoff, right? Unfortunately, sometimes these games slip a few cents down and it sort of ruins you. Chase Anderson, 44 innings, 8 starts, 5 relief appearances, 6.75 ERA. I don't think he's that bad, although he's been that bad for about 2 seasons, maybe 70 or 80 innings worth. But like you said, I like this Phillies team more than this Nationals team. They trade a lot of guys away. Obviously, I think the Nationals lineup is pretty pathetic at this point. Espino is very hittable. He doesn't walk many guys, but he doesn't also strike out anybody. 10% barrels. I think there's a tiny bit of value on Philly. I did like the over in this game as well. I think it's gone up a little bit, but the wind's blowing in at something like 10 miles an hour or something. So I just sort of, again, cross this one off, but lean to the over, lean to the Phillies, but no official, investment here in this game.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was at with this. I thought I would maybe have more of it, but 9.5 is kind of a big number, but I saw the juice. I was like, oh, maybe I'll like the over. I make it 9 on the dot. So no, was kind of surprised by that, but I guess, I do believe that Chase Anderson's a little bit better than what he's been. So I'm with you. Nothing there for me as well. I forgot to mention that I screwed it up. We had day baseball as the first game. I messed that up. Pittsburgh and Milwaukee's day baseball for us. But moving on, Mets and Marlins still in the NL East. Carrasco against Thompson. Mets minus 150 favorite on the road. Total in this game 7.5. Thompson's been pretty good. If you don't know, for the Marlins, he's been pretty solid. To little surprise here for them. Not that they're doing anything this year, but Carrasco making, I think, second start off of his injury. So how you going about this game with Carrasco? Similarly to Brault that we talked about earlier, still kind of coming back into form.
I saw this game and already knew with Zach Thompson that I didn't really want to get involved. He's pitched a 2.33 ERA over 8 starts this season. Not a huge sample, of course, but he's been fairly good. Projected for a 4.14 ERA, without having enough data to really make an assessment on a guy who's pitched in the minors for the last 3 years purely as a reliever, and then comes in this year and just starts for the Marlins and has been fantastic. The Marlins keep doing this with pitchers. I don't really know how they're doing that. Zach Thompson has been in the minor leagues since 2014. It's not like he's been overly impressive or he would be in Major League Baseball, right? So, he is impressive now that he's gone to Miami. He struck out quite a few guys in the minor leagues over, the last couple of years, although they didn't have 2020 minor leagues. But I'm sure that he was impressive wherever he was actually pitching. My numbers, factoring in the fact that Thompson isn't as bad as what the projections make him out to be, and the fact that Carrasco's on his second start and didn't look particularly sharp in his first one. I have an edge towards the Mets, but I'm just not going to play it just for those reasons alone. I know that Thompson, or at least I think that Thompson is better than 414 or 420 or whatever they have him listed as. And I think Carrasco is a little bit worse than what he's going to be in my numbers because he was one of the best pitchers in baseball, and he's just not right now coming off of injuries. And maybe he will be, but he's certainly not right now.
Yeah, another concern with this one, Carrasco faced 16 hitters. In that first start was, it wasn't like he was struggling, gave up 3 hits and 1 walk. So like, wasn't even like he was grinding through innings either. 4 strikeouts, got a lot of ground balls. He did give up 2 barrels, which was a pretty high percent, but he only had 3 hard hit balls. So like, you can kind of, it kind of goes both ways. If you're, limiting one side of it pretty heavily, then you're good. You're probably good to go. So, but yeah, Thompson, he's one of those guys, we say, young guy who the projection systems are probably off on to start. So I'm with you. This was kind of like an auto skip for me with just both of these pitchers, really, because Thompson is kind of still an unknown and might be way better than we think. And Carrasco, the outcomes that he has are very, very wide here. So
sure,
skipping that one for me. Next one, game that we both agree on. Atlanta and St. Louis. Okay. Smiley against Hap. Smiley this is kind of even across the board. Smiley a short favorite here. Total in this game is 9 with some juice towards the under at some places, which I don't know. You want to go?
I don't know either. I don't know.
I'll let you dive in first. But what are your thoughts in regard to that juice on this number?
Yeah, my initial thought was like, all right, I'm going to play Atlanta here. We played them last night against Leicester, and then now we're getting Hap, who's worse than Leicester. The Cardinals just decided, like, hey, we're going to lose as many games as possible by getting John Lester and Jay Happ and letting them pitch, and I just don't really understand that. But yeah, I'm on the over. I agree. I think you're giving me 9 with these guys on the mound. I have to play this number. I think it should be like 10. I know I don't think the Cardinals scored last night. I think that what was that game 6-0, and they put up 6 in the first 2 innings. The Braves and Cardinals offense hasn't been as good as what people initially thought that they were going to be. Acuna's now out, but these are gas can pitchers, and I've talked about this 100 times. I think that there's opportunity in the market to play over with bad offenses, or at least underperforming offenses with bad pitchers on the mound, because there's decent chance one of them blows up, and there's decent chance we end up with some really bad relievers. I talked about Miley last week. He's been really good since June. He gave up a 7 spot somewhere in there, and ever since then, he's been pretty good. 308 ERA, 383 FIP, which is this Drew Smiley that we kind of talked about reinventing himself last year and was decent. So he's kind of figured it back out. But still, I just can't really get to this number, and I do think it's short. I think what's the money line in this game? 107. I think there's some value there too. I just like the over a little bit more. So Atlanta in the over, or just the over for me. But if you really want to play both, I think there's some value there.
Yeah, Jay Happ, my model has not, I would say, slower to pick up on how bad he's been.
He's really bad.
Like his strikeouts and you look at his strikeouts and walks, and like they're down. Strikeouts are down a little bit, but walks are where they are. So you're like, okay, a little bit of he's getting older. Guy's been around. People forget he was on these really good Philly teams, that won the World Series. Like he was the young guy on those teams. So he's gonna turn 39 at the end of this year. So I'm looking deeper. I'm like, okay, strikeouts are concerning. 12% barrel rate is very concerning. Career number 6.9. 36.2% hard hit rate for his career this year, 42.5. I'm like, okay, something's off here. Like he's not right. And so, like just on him alone, like righties are hitting a 397 WOBA against him this year. Like that is just absurdly bad.
He's had 2 starts where he's given up 9 earned.
Like the potential of blowout here is pretty impressive. So, and then I go through this Braves lineup, and Freeman, sure, he's a lefty, but we know that he can hit lefty as well. Even because I am looking at, he's an average, or Happ has been average against left-handed pitching this year. And then the only other lefty that's probably that might play would be probably Jock Peterson, and that seems like a stretch. I know I'm seeing some lineup projections with him in there. So literally, the only lefty might be Freddie Freeman. So just on like the Braves lineup alone, like I think this is a great matchup. They probably get 4, maybe 5 off of Happ, in his 4 or 5 innings. Like that's entirely possible. So I don't know, 9 and at a cheap price. You're not even paying, normal juice here. You're getting an underpriced here. I can't get to this number. Like you said, this is
J.A. Happ has a 6.77 ERA in his first 5 starts. That's in 19 starts. His first 5 starts this season, he had a 1.91 ERA, and he has since pitched to something like an 8.70 since the middle of May. It's I think it's over for him, and I think it's definitely over in this game with these two guys. Like you said, Smiley's been good, but I agree. I think the Braves get 6. Like, at least 6.
J.A. Happ WOBA, or we'll just go ERA first. 11.25 in the second half, only 16 innings, but his WOBA in that time 4.30. That's bad.
And if you don't want to really flirt with the Cardinals, and you don't want to flirt with Smiley potentially blowing up as well, this might be a situation where you could play some Braves team total over, even though I kind of hate doing that, but it might protect you.
4.5.
4.5 up there. Yeah, 4.5. I think you could play that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Smiley has been a weird guy. He's kind of but 9 is not that many runs. Like,
it feels square. I just don't know why. I don't know why this is a thing.
I'm with you. When I saw that number, I'm like, I don't get that. 9 just doesn't make sense. The run environment's been up since the June 3rd sticky stuff. This was the old run environment, like beginning of the year 9, but that doesn't make sense. But my favorite team to talk about on the opening line, the Rockies host the Cubs
at home.
Mills versus Gray at -170 favorite at home. Total in this game 11 with some juice towards the under. Just want to point out before we get into it, Rockies 34-20 at home, 13-40 on the road. That's why they're such big favorites against the Cubs here. But John Gray's been pretty good. So total in this game is 11, and I think you see some value on one side of that. Are you going with the typical Coors over, or are you gonna fight the moon here and play?
Yeah, I'm fighting the moon. This is just absolutely terrifying, but this number's still out there. 11 juice the under. I thought it should have been 10, just purely because the Cubs have nobody left on this team to hit the ball. Alec Mills has been okay. 4.55 ERA, 4.34 FIP. It's pretty average. Not a lot of walks, not a lot of strikeouts. Doesn't get hit particularly hard. He's just going to be an average pitcher, and you don't need to be that good against the Rockies to do that. They're not winning at home because of the lineup, right? They're winning at home because the starting pitching particularly for them has been good, and it's been good at home for a number of years. I can't believe that John Gray and Trevor Story and German Marquez and all of the players are still on the Rockies, but they are. But it has created a situation where I think the Rockies, especially at home, are better than the Cubs. I think this Cubs lineup is incredibly bad. And I think there's some value here. I think there's some value on the Rockies. I like the under a little bit more, so I played that. But again, maybe another situation where some Cubs team total under might be in play. But overall, I don't really want to mess with that Rockies bullpen. So I played the under entirely for the game in hopes that John Gray throws well.
Yeah, I was close to this as well. I'm not a huge fan of Alec Mills. Hasn't really shown me much. There's something concerning because he had strikeouts before, and now he really doesn't. And
is the Cubs lineup the worst in baseball right now?
Let me just look at the actual hitters. Let me put it. It kind of has to be, right? I don't know.
They got rid of the 3 of the better hitters in baseball, so
I don't think their lineup was particularly good with those guys. It was kind of like the Pirates in the sense of all right, you're faced the top of that order, you got to work through it. And obviously they had, Brian Reynolds has been fantastic, but the bigger name guys there. But yeah, that's a pretty bad lineup. I think I'm there. It's just Mills is interesting because the strikeouts have disappeared since 2020. This is a high strikeout guy. I don't know really where they went. I know he didn't throw a lot of innings in 18 and 19, but you're striking out 30% of hitters. You'd expect that at least to come down to the mid 20s. And the last 2 years he's been under 20. I'm really scared of a blow up for him. But if I had to play something, like I said, I was really close to this under. If it didn't have the heavy juice right now. Like if there's some over money came in, I think this has value. So I do agree with you. I think that the Rockies know how to pitch at home. I say it every home game and road game, because the road you can't play their unders. But no, I would be against the moon with you here. If the price was a little bit better, I think Cubs Rockies under is the play with value. So staying out west, San Francisco and Arizona, Gausman against Gallen. He's just irritated me. We're gonna have a discussion about this game. Gausman, a -175 favorite. Total in this game is 9 or 8.5, depending on which one you're playing on. You're playing juice. You like a side here. I like that side, but Zach Gallen is officially on my no bet list because I don't know what to make of him. He's been too freaking up and down, and I quit on him.
He's on your shit list. He's on your shit list. Yeah. 7 earned 2 starts ago. I think that really inflated the numbers for him. Other than that, and he's been pretty damn solid. And I don't like to just throw things out or have arbitrary endpoints, but we can make it, time and excuses, especially in today's world. I think for, certain blowups in particular situations, this number 157, 158, still hanging out up there. I don't think really anybody wants to bet on Arizona, but they are at home. And I am betting them. I made this game 140. So it kind of reminds me of the Dodgers game last night where you fully anticipate a team to lose with a good pitcher on the mound, and you just never know. You get, McCullers was fantastic, and I don't think either of us would be surprised if Gallen was fantastic today. He's certainly been fantastic at times this year. He's just been a little unlucky, 4.61 ERA, and like I said, a lot of that predicated on the fact that he gave up 7 earned 2 starts ago. And you look at Gausman, who's incredibly good. I've backed him a lot. And we talked this last week. I think the numbers are just kind of getting a little bit too far away. 7 earned or something like that, or 8 earned in the last couple starts for Gausman. He gave up a big number to Pittsburgh, which, again, they can do that every now and again. He hasn't missed as many bats recently. I don't know. I'm looking at xERA 321. Gallen's like in the 360 area for me. Pip in the low 3s, and Gallen's, mid to high 3s pitcher. I think these pitchers are a little more similar than they are different, in my opinion. And, obviously I was a big proponent of the Giants picking up Chris Bryant here, but I just think this number is just a tiny, tiny bit high. And I don't know that it's really going to come down, but I'm fine to take a big dog at home with a decent pitcher on the mound.
Yeah, if this number starts to go up higher, and it kind of has, I kind of have to I guess I should throw another in my Zach Gallen rant there. The market has not liked him. I've bet on him a couple times. I haven't gotten a better number, and so that has
last 2 or 3 games for me as well. I've been kind of back.
Like when that happens for anybody, like when we say that, like it kind of throws off a red flag. Like, am I missing something? The problem with Gallen, there were injuries, but he's also had a couple starts where he's only gone like 2 innings, and both have been against the Giants. He's given up 3 and 4 runs, since June. So they're not afraid to pull him quick because of the injuries. So like there is an issue, like if he's just not on, but last start against the Dodgers, 2 runs in 6 innings with 8 strikeouts and 1 walk. Like that's what I'm betting on when I bet on Zach Gallen.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm okay with waiting this if it does kind of blow up and San Fran and Gausman get some numbers, because we've been talking about how they're getting a little overvalued here down the stretch. And again, bad team with a solid pitcher at home late in the year, that's probably going to be, for anybody doing numbers out there, that's probably going to have value. I don't know, a good portion. So I do think the Diamondbacks have the side here. I've just kind of written off Gallen because the market hasn't been agreeing with him. I wonder where this number goes. Is this like there was last night? Like this number jumped up. Like I don't know. Like like the Giants caught some money. So I don't know if this gets up to like 165 or 170. I think I'll have to hop on because that's getting pretty absurd. Because Gallen is good, but the market doesn't seem to agree to my level. So, Mariners at Rays, Gilbert against Fleming. Fleming a -150 favorite at home. Total in this game 8. Kind of some tough guy, Josh Fleming, our guy. Like you never know. This is like every Rays game now. I feel like ever since like Class now went got hurt, like every Rays game, it's like, okay, they're gonna let them go 3, they let them go 5. What do you think about this game?
Fleming's, and he's been pretty good. I just never know. He'll pitch 2 2/3 the one game and then throw 6 the next. So I don't know. I made this 157. If he gets a full start, So I think this number is about right. I think the total's about right. I think at the same time, for a 24-year-old who in Logan Gilbert, who's been incredibly good, and he's been incredibly good throughout his minor league career. And I think the 4.04 ERA this season is going to come down. You just can't strike out 27, 28% of hitters and walk like 4 or 5% of hitters and be bad. I don't believe that that's possible. So, it pretty much always comes down to strikeouts and walks. And if you can be as good as Logan Gilbert has been, this number was plus 150, come down 143. I wouldn't be surprised to see more money come in. The projections are good on him because in his minor league career, he's been extremely high K, low walk guy. But they're probably even high, like 390, low fours ERAs. In a lot of these projection systems, they're probably even a little bit high. He might be a low to mid four or mid threes pitcher here. And I don't know. I think we'll continue to see money come in on him. My one hang up here is Josh Fleming is left-handed. And the Mariners will just bat like 6 lefties for no reason against lefties. So I get always nervous backing the Mariners because they just do that nonsense. So I didn't have an edge really here, but I certainly wouldn't be surprised to see more Mariners money come in.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think if anything, this number is, like you said, value on Mariners. Gilbert is just like it's kind of everything you want to see out of a young pitcher, starting his career, right? Like if you're a Mariners fan, like 28% K rate, 5% walk rate, you're sitting there like, yeah, this is this is it. Like usually the second year and definitely into the third, you get a little bit of improvement. That improvement needs to come into the batted ball area. 8.5% barrel and 45% hit rate, hard hit rate isn't something you want to see.
He's certainly attacking the zone though,
right?
Like he's certainly coming out of them.
He's an extreme fly ball guy, which is interesting because I guess he has been. I'm looking at his 1 year in high A was, but 33% ground ball rate this year in the majors. In 2019, in 50 innings in Double A, was 33% as well. So he's an extreme fly ball guy. So he might be one of those guys that is just kind of breaking that norm a little bit. Yeah. Like a lot of hard hit balls are just really skied really high. He did get a lot of infield fly balls in the minors, hasn't got them so far in the majors. So I'm wondering if that can regress back for him and he'll be even better. But I'm with you. I think Seattle has some value here. Not playing it because I don't have enough of an edge with still the uncertainty of him, but I am a big Logan Gilbert fan here. So this next game, I want like kind of an airing of grievances here because we were both in some capacity on who I can't remember who faced. We were both faded Matt Harvey, his last start, and he was freaking fantastic. He's on the mound against Jameson Taillon and the Yankees today. Yankees minus 255 at home. Total in this game is 9.5 towards the under. I want to play the Yankees team total again because there's no way that Harvey can do it again. But I did see Jordan Montgomery went on the COVID list, so I'm kind of want to it's one of those again we talked about this year's kind of baseball is you can't just press a button and go. Kind of want to see if that's going to spread out. We've seen that happen every COVID outbreak, if you will, or in teams in MLB this year. It's kind of spread across the whole team. So any interest in the Yankees at this price or team total or anything I
want to play something in regards to that. Did Detroit still win that game against Harvey? I thought maybe they still won. That was last week.
They lost 5-1. I think he threw 6 shutout innings. Let me look it up.
Yeah, 6 and a third. 5. Yeah. His last 3 starts, 11 Ks, 1 walk, 10 hits, no runs. That's off of a 189 BABIP. But again, 189 BABIP in a short stint can happen. He's not really walking anybody, and he's not really getting that hard. I found that sort of interesting. I do think that he sucks still. 3 starts aren't going to change my mind. This beginning of the year where, wait, is he decent? And then he got destroyed for a number of starts, and now he's decent again. I think he gets hit pretty hard today would be my guess, obviously. This lineup has obviously gotten a big upgrade between Gallo and Rizzo, especially against right-handed pitching. And Taillon, here he is, coming off of his second TJ. He looks pretty damn good. in his last few starts. His last 5 starts, he's given up 4 barrels, and they were all in one game against Boston, at Boston. So 4 of his last 5 starts, no barrels in any of those games. And that was his issue. He was attacking the zone. He was getting a normal amount of strikeouts. His walks are always low. He kind of, changed into this severe fly ball pitcher, but now the barrels aren't there and the ball isn't leaving the park, and he looks pretty good. So yeah, I don't know. My number was absurdly high on this game. Yeah. I could maybe get behind some like team total over maybe on the Yankees, but I would just rather not deal with this Matt Harvey thing anymore. Yeah. And I've been really high on Tyon too, because obviously coming off some injuries, off Tommy John for a second time, he had cancer, he had the whole run of it, and he's certainly not as good as what he's going to be projected to be, even in my own projections. But I do think that he's still very good. So I don't know. I could get behind, if you really want to lay the 260 or whatever the hell it is now, go for it. I just, I don't know. I'm just gonna walk away from this game. I got plenty of other plays today that I have to deal with this nonsense.
Yeah, that was the thing. I have a light slate, so it's kind of like this was the one I had to really think about going ahead and grabbing here. But I don't have an edge on
the team total was still what, 5.5 minus 120.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm with you, but I will say, I try to look through everybody who, like Harvey, early in the year, tried to look through, did he have a velocity bump from the last couple of years? And he did get his velocity up, but it was more so up when he was bad. So that wasn't the reason for it. I will say he's been sub 48% fastball rate in these last 3 starts. And I'm not saying he's going to be good, but I could see that why the hitters are struggling against him, as okay, he's supposed to, he was throwing it 55, 60% of the time. Early in the year is up to 65%. So maybe there's been a little bit of change with Baltimore in regards to that. I don't know, but that could be a thing. But again, that's eventually if I'm the Yankees and I'm hey, he's throwing less fastballs this year. So don't just be sitting fastball every, early in every count, because he's going to get ahead of you. And then if you manage to throw your off speed pitch and you're always if you just switch, that's a huge advantage, and hitters are going to take, because they're going to be looking fat. Okay, I'm only going fastball first pitch. And if you're able to throw the off speed for a strike, 0-1, even if you're a bad pitcher, if you start off 0-1 to every hitter, you're going to have a pretty good night. It's just how it is. It's that's how the game works. So.
We've seen when John Means has gotten on those roles where I the one game against Boston, he threw a first pitch strike to all but one batter, and it's it's a lot easier to pitch with a guy in the hole,
Yeah, I'm with you there. So, Indians and Toronto, JC Mejia against Steven Matz. Steven Matz, another guy that had a pretty solid start to the year, and we wondered if he was Toronto figured something out, but he's kind of regressed back. He's a minus 200 favorite at home. Total in this game is 9.5. I think there's value on Cleveland, but Mejia is. I don't think he's a starter. He's been better in his little short stints, so that's kept me off here. I don't know how you feel in that regard, but Steven Matz minus 200 just seems very, very.
It is high. It is high. I think. I still don't see Toronto, and I think the league, the standings kind of bear this out. Toronto's been sort of a market darling, because they randomly will score 10, and then but we just kind of forget when they go through stints of bad baseball, and the way that they play kind of lends itself to a lot of variance where they strike out a little bit, they hit a lot of home runs, and when the home runs don't go, they don't score that many runs. It's not a bad way to play baseball. It's like the Houston Rockets version of MLB baseball, right? So at least what the old Rockets were. So I do think there's some value on Cleveland. If I'm seeing him projected around 4.75 ERA, which is, I would be relying on that since he has 45 innings pitched and doesn't really reach a threshold in which I could make a projection on him, since I use the StatCast data and we don't really have that publicly available for the minor leagues and all that for me to be able to kind of work into that. He is still pretty young. He's been in baseball since 2014, still 24. I don't know. I don't think he's any good, but if he is a 4.75 ERA pitcher, this number is certainly too high. I just don't know that he necessarily is. So I cross this one off. Again, another reason I don't have to chase at this point in the season, and I don't have to chase today because I got plenty of action.
Yeah, he's been like unlucky, if you will. Left on base percentage of 57%. He does get some ground balls, so that's like, but he's one of those guys that gets ground balls. But when you do hit the ball in the air, it seems to go over the fence. So like he gets hit a little bit too hard. Like I don't know. I don't know what to make of him. He was much better in his he didn't give up a run as a reliever earlier in this year, and even his first couple starts, he didn't go. They didn't try to really push him, and he had a 6-inning start. Like they will push him if he's going good, but I don't know. Just hasn't worked out. He's given up at least 4 in his last 5 starts. It's really hard to back Mejia here because I just don't know if he's a starter. He might be one of those guys. I know Cleveland can pull some magic, but he just seems like he's one of those guys that is kind of like a long reliever bridge guy, which is, you need some of those guys in today's game because some starters can't go that long. But I just don't love him starting a game. Definitely gets a lineup that can absolutely mash. So I think this number's like, if you're going to play anything, it's Cleveland, but I am plenty good skipping this one. So Boston and Detroit, Eduardo Rodriguez was absolutely terrible his last time out. I backed him. It just I saw like in the second inning, a Boston beat writer said like, just doesn't look like Eduardo has it tonight. I was like, oh nice, that's good stuff. He goes up against Casey Mize, who has been fantastic. Boston a -144 favorite on the road. Total in this game 9 with even juice. Both of these, like, I still think Erod has been unlucky. I don't know if we're getting into the point like he's going to break the mold here and be 2 runs unlucky over like every metric here, but he kind of turned it around. So maybe he'll continue that success, but Casey Mize has been fantastic. What do you like in this one?
Yeah, I mean, Eduardo is probably the most unlucky pitcher in baseball, I would say, this season. Yeah, maybe even ever. He's always been worse. We talk about guys that can outperform traditional metrics, and like Kershaw is one of them, and there's a handful of guys talked about this year. Eduardo Rodriguez, for some reason, always seems to be worse than what he actually should be. Not by this much, though. Like you said, almost 2 runs of a difference between his xERA, more than 2 runs of difference between his FIP, and even more so on his xFIP. He's given up some dingers that have hurt him. He had 4 walks in his last start. That's just not like him. I mean, he's a pretty low walk guy. The strikeouts have really jumped up over the last couple of years for him, and they've sort of stayed there. 28%, 27.9%, his career high, and a career low in walks. So if you can strike out career high strikeouts and career low walks, that's pretty damn good. All that said, I talked shit on Casey Mize because I didn't think he was very good, and now I think he's an above-avrage pitcher according to I don't think so, but my projection system in which I wrote thinks so. So now I can't talk shit on him anymore. The strikeouts aren't great, but he really lowered his walk rate. He had 10% walk rate last year. And all that said, I like the under. I think both these pitchers are plenty good enough to get outs and go deep in this game. And I do think there's a tiny bit of value at Detroit at this 136 number. I think that's still out there, but I definitely have a little bit of a bigger edge on the under. I made this game just 8. That Detroit Stadium plays a little bit bigger than what people realize, especially in the gaps into center field, which can be a problem for things like doubles and triples. But both these teams, especially Boston, kind of gets on about hitting home runs, and I think Mize will limit them. I think Eduardo Rodriguez will be very good, despite Detroit kind of, impressing lately. So I will say that, this is kind of another hold your nose and hope Eduardo shows up, and hope Casey Mize keeps defying his xERA and his FIP, albeit that, my numbers on him are much better than what the other metrics are for some reason. So I don't want to say that he's defying much just because I are obviously partial to my own work. So I like Eduardo. I like Casey Mize. I think this game can stay under 9 here. So that's what I played.
Yeah. Subjectively, I thought this was an underplay as well. But I'm not quite. I mean, I make it 8.9. So I guess I do kind of like the under, but it's interesting. Eduardo has been unlucky, but it's been like 0.2, 0.3 runs unlucky, like throughout his career. Like something where you're like, okay, whatever. Casey Mize is probably going to be the opposite, I would imagine.
For what, like I said, for whatever it's worth, my numbers aren't that. I don't know what you have him project as, but my numbers aren't as bad as the other ones.
I don't think he's anywhere close to the best one, Steamer at 4.51. I think he's much better than that. My numbers have much better than that. 252 BABIP this year. He had 268 BABIP last year. Home runs have kind of been the issue. People look last year like 28 innings, 6.99 ERA. Like he had a 59.1% left on base percentage. Now that year that's gone up, obviously, this year with 81.4. So probably lucky in that regard too. But I'm assuming, like, because he gets hit hard, he's been getting ground balls this year. He's going to be one of those guys that he like the contact, even if it's hit hard, like it's just never good. You know what I mean? Like like he just seems that way. Like he's not getting. There's no way you can get strikeouts. And like he hasn't really been that lucky. Like his BABIP, I think he's going to be a lower BABIP guy. Like he's getting ground balls, and like we've said, the ground balls are hit harder. So I do think he's much better than what the projection systems.
Yeah, and every metric for him improved this year. He's in like non-metric stuff. He's throwing harder with more movement. And the strikeouts remain the same. The walks are way down. The barrels are way down. The hard hits are way down. I don't know. He's a former top pick, right? He was the number one prospect. So, I agree. I guess I don't know. He had it was just 7 starts, I guess, last year, but 2.22 home runs per 9. That's down to 1.3, and that's a manageable number if you're throwing strikes.
Yeah. I think that's another thing. He's not walking guys. That number went from 10% to under 7. So, big change there. Eduardo Rodriguez, last point I brought up last time about he had like 10 straight starts where like the BABIP was like over 375 or something. Toronto, the Yankees, Angels, A's, Yankees, Rays, Braves, Houston, Yankees, Astros, Phillies. Like I don't know. Like he's faced Baltimore twice. One was in the first start of the year. The other one was in May, the beginning of May. He's faced Texas in the beginning of May. Like since, I don't know, middle of May, I don't think he's faced, like the worst offense he's faced is probably Philadelphia. like that's pretty insane. Like if you want to talk about like not a lot of these numbers are adjusted for opponent, but I would say that you would need to like it's been so extreme, and a lot of the AL East pitchers are going to fall into that. But that's a pretty rough stretch of who he's been facing and how unlucky he was. Been a rough go for Eduardo Rodriguez. Angels and Rangers here. Ohtani versus Allard. Ohtani minus 175 favorite on the road. Total in this game is 8. I know Ohtani games get kind of tough, but Kobe Allard's been solid this year for the Rangers. The Rangers have forgot how to hit over the last like month of the season. Any interest in getting involved with a Shohei Ohtani game while he's on the mound?
Nope. I don't care. I'll wait till next year maybe. He's looked fine. I don't want to say that like he looks injured or anything like. I don't. I automatically just kind of turn that off because it's just too much.
Yeah, Colby Allard ERA looks bad, but his metrics look much better. I think he's much better than what that looks like. Ohtani. I'm with you. I haven't been involved in too many of his games where he pitches because it is tough. I mean, obviously the bat has still been fantastic. He hasn't dropped off at all. Like he had that amazing start to the year. He's just kept that going. He's figured out the walks. Like remember at the beginning of the year, he was walking like 16% of hitters. He's got that down to almost like under 11%. Like some guys that like have been like are just only pitchers are walking like McCullers. You said a guy like you brought up at the top of the show, like walks too many guys, but figures it out. So he looks good. You know what I mean? Like, It looks like he's the real deal on both ends. So it is tough to get a gauge here. I do kind of lean over, but that makes me nervous because I think Allard's a little bit better than projection systems and just overall his results. And Ohtani, I think I'm probably like slow to pick him up too because I'm using data from the beginning of this year where he struggled and he's been just fantastic since then. So I do lean over here. I think the numbers may be a little high, but again, Texas' offense has been so bad. I don't know if I want to get involved there at all.
I agree with that Texas thing over. I just don't.
I'm not. I'm good. Like the way Texas has been hitting, this is like Ohtani could go 6 and like strike out 10, and you're just like, yep, that's Texas. They literally have forgotten how to hit. So Kansas City at Chicago White Sox. Hernandez versus Giolito. Giolito, a minus 260 favorite at home. Total in this game is 8.5, juice towards the over. I went against my rule with the White Sox last night. I shouldn't have done it. It was one of those plays where I was like, it was right there, and I just went for it. One rule: Dylan Cease is good versus bad teams and bad versus good teams, and that's just generally the White Sox, and they won last night because that's what they do. They beat bad teams, can't beat the good teams. But this number has gone up since we've been going, which isn't too shocking because big favorites tend to catch them. But any interest in Giolito at this large of a number against the Royals?
No, I made this like 260. I was kind of surprised. I thought for sure I would be betting the Royals here. But Carlos Hernandez obviously not projected to be that great. 14% walks this year. Everything else looks okay. It's just the walks are bad. The strikeouts are quite high, 27%. I don't know. He's listed as a 470 ERA pitcher. I think on the strikeouts alone, he'll be a little bit better than that. So again, maybe a tiny little bit of value on the Royals. Giolito has been good his last 4 starts. He did give up 6 to Detroit. It seems like every time I check like these game logs, Detroit just like puts a number on somebody that's a good pitcher along the way. Like they keep doing this.
Right.
All that said, no, I didn't really have an edge in this game. I don't know that I would really want to get involved here anyway. I'm seeing some 260s out there. I'm seeing some 250s out there, which I would have a small edge on. I lean towards the under, but I don't know. Yeah,
I lean towards the under as well, but again, White Sox against bad team, they're just like otherworldly. I'm good with skipping.
I was on this White Sox under in last night, and they do this thing where the dichotomy of this team of like they'll put up 8 zeros and score like 8 in one inning, and it just drives me mad because I'm on a lot of their unders. I don't think their offense is very good. And then they keep proving me wrong. They just put up like 8 or 9 in one inning, and they almost did it again last night. I think they had like a 6 spot or something, 5 or 6 spot that almost nuked it. It got there, but it almost ruined that under that was good all the way till like the 8th inning. So I don't know. That kind of this team is just kind of perplexing to me because they don't project to be that great, and they keep winning games. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it's they did it last year. Last year against bad teams under 500, they were 23-5. This year, again, they're 41-18. Like they take care of business when they need to, which is an under. Like I'm not like that. There is something to that. Like as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, like how many games did Roethlisberger like lose to some crappy team on the road? Like we've seen that happen. So there's credit there. It's just interesting to like what happens when they play good teams. I don't know. So I'm good. Giolito's been all over the map this year. I know spin rates have been a problem for White Sox pitchers, but they've been bouncing back up. They found a new substance to get some grip. We've kind of seen that with a lot of guys who have dropped. So which isn't surprising. They would figure it out. So Twins and Reds, Barnes against Castillo. Castillo minus 233 favorite at home. Total in this game is 9.5. This was 222 when we started. I think it was even like 215, like maybe a half hour before. I knew this number was going to go up. I didn't have an edge though. But it was one of those ones where I'm like, I know that Luis Castillo is going to get money, and he did. So any interest in this game? Reds is getting priced up there pretty high, but Minnesota is interesting.
Yeah, it took like one good start in our Luis Castillo. I lost money on Luis Castillo for the first month of the season. Yeah. It took one good start, and now I can't bet on him anymore. So I actually lean towards Minnesota at this price. I didn't this morning. It was like almost a play on Cincinnati, and now it's definitely not. But I'm not betting Charlie. Is it Charlie Barnes? Is that his name? Charlie Barnes? I haven't even looked him up, to be honest. I just saw this game and I was like, oh, I'm like basically a market. That's fine. And that now I see the number and I'm like, okay, I'm not getting involved here. But yeah, just to reiterate on Castillo, we were just waiting for this. He was unlucky and also just kind of strangely bad. Like no one could figure out where the strikeouts went or what was going on with him. And like as bad as he was, he has a 4.22 ERA this season. I don't know. I just thought he was going to be like a top 7 or 8 pitcher in baseball this year. And in all honesty, he kind of has been over his last few starts. I know he gave up 3 at Chicago, but the previous 4 starts he gave up 3 runs. There's a lot of zeros mixed in there. Pretty much since, I guess, the substance ban, he's been pretty good. I've noticed a few guys doing that. I almost wonder if like some guys were using stuff and it was actually hurting them, in the long run, because it was something that they implemented in the off season, or they were getting more aggressive with it, or whatever it might have been. And spin rate is good, right? I don't want to make it out to be that way, but everyone's going to handle that different. It's just like a guy that could take steroids as an NFL player or a golfer or something and get too big and really limit himself or whatever. Like everything has a downside and it's not going to work for everyone. So I almost wonder if some of these guys Smiley, we talked about Smiley earlier, like there's a weird switch with some of these guys at the beginning of June that a lot of them got worse, like Garrett Cole, but some guys like Tyon and Smiley and Castillo and some of these, they got better. So, I don't know. I wonder if some guys just were kind of trying to use this stuff and getting too deep into I'm a big data guy, obviously, but getting too deep into the data aspect and less of the pitching aspect.
Yeah, there's something to be said about like doing what got you to where you are, and then, like I get trying it out, obviously. Like, okay, let's see if I just like Garrett Cole became like the best pitcher in baseball, like behind Jacob deGrom, for like 4 years, like by doing it, and he was a good pitcher and then went to like the best. But yeah, Castillo since the June 3rd mandate, 1.95 ERA.
Wow, that's better than I thought too. Yeah.
FIP 3.19, xFIP 3.49, so it's all there. 57% ground ball rate, 254 BABIP, 86% left on base. Like it's all 4% barrels since then, 39.3% hard hit rate. So he's given up 7 barrels in 11 starts since the sticky stuff mandate. Part of me wonders too, because this weird off season with COVID, are we seeing some guys kind of struggle late? Like Scherzer wasn't exactly like sharp to begin the year. There's that aspect. There's the sticky stuff. A lot of things that can go into it. But he has been absolutely fantastic for the Reds here. So Padres at Oakland. Musgrove against Frankie Montas. Montas minus 122 favorite at home. Total in this game's 8, minus 108. I have an edge on the Padres now at this number, as the A's have gotten some money here. Montas is just kind of like an average, maybe slightly above average. Musgrove has not been good since the sticky stuff. If we want to talk about someone who's not been good, he's not. I won't say that he's been average. He hasn't been his great, that we saw early. He's been around a 4 ERA pitcher, 4 FIP, all around that. So I'm kind of writing this off. This is kind of what you have to do with this sticky stuff menu. This is what I've been doing basically every pitcher that I'm tracking. I just want or about to bet on. I check, and Musgrove got booted for me today. What do you like in this game?
Yeah, I want to play the Padres. This number opened up late. I didn't anticipate it. I thought the Padres would be favored in this game. So I may add the Padres here. I want to look at some stuff for, like you're saying. So I'm going to look at some spin rate stuff. I know that Joe Musgrove was a guy who saw spin rates go up recently, and I'm sure that they've gone down. Almost everyone has gone down. I want to see by how much and all that. 11 strikeouts, 1 walk. I know it was against Colorado at home in his last start, 3 hits, 7 innings. Maybe that gives him a little bit of boost. He pitched well against Miami. But overall, since the beginning of June, he's given up some 3 spots, some 5 spots in there. Back-to-back 5 spots, and then a 4 spot against the Nationals, 3.88 ERA in that time span. And Frankie Montas, who came on the scene, was very good, got suspended for roids, was really bad, and now he's like pretty good again, I guess. All that said, I like the starter more. I like the bullpen more. I like the lineup more, even with Tatis not playing. I just think this number is a little bit high. The nice part about what the Padres did at the deadline is that adding a guy like Frazier and a few others is they can sustain an injury and still be, World Series contenders here. It looks like they might end up in, kind of a really random playoff game. But I don't know. I think that there's some value on the Padres here. I need to look at this a little bit more.
Yeah, Montas, since the sticky stuff, we're also at the point with the sticky stuff, 10, 11 starts for a lot of guys. You're starting to get a lot of data. We were Cole, for instance, was like bad in his first 2 starts, but then he had like 3 really good. So like he shut out the complete game shutout against the Astros. Like, so we're like, okay, is Cole like still good or is he not? And like now we're at the point where it's like, okay, we're seeing what it is. Montas, since the sticky stuff, 3.73 ERA, 2.95 FIP. That includes a start at Texas where he went 5 2/3 and gave up 8. So he has been good.
Look at his last three games, man. 37 or last 4 games, 37 strikeouts.
Yeah. He's turned it on. 26% K rate this year, 6.5 walk. Like that'll play. He doesn't get hit a little bit harder. That's why you're probably not seeing him, in the like mid 3s or even lower, 9.4% barrel rate, 44% hard hit rate. But I saw his sinker, or maybe it was his splitter, has like one of the highest swinging strike rates in baseball this year. So, again, that's sitting here, we've been talking about it. Like he was good, and then they got popped for roids, and kind of it's tough because he's outperformed his metrics in 2018, 2019, smaller samples, and then like last year he was really bad. I wonder if it was just like 2020 for him was just chalked. You know what I mean? Like
with everything going,
with all the COVID, like we've seen that. Like we talk about, it's an interesting time because like you wonder if you have to like kind of like some guys, if they weren't able to, like we said, Eduardo Rodriguez, like if you had COVID like before the season started and you weren't 100% going into it, I don't know, but that's why I skipped it. Musgrove is trending
I'm clicking through. I'm clicking through Musgrove here on Savant to see spin rates. Last season was great. We can't click that.
I can't click that, Dream.
Tag us on. Give us something. Give us something here. Last game was the highest spin rate for Musgrove's slider, and curveball, not fastball, but he also threw them harder than he ever has.
So
this is strange to me, but this is like he's peaking right now in terms of spin rate. But if you look at since June 3rd, he's been on a pretty steady decline in terms of like slider spin. Not bad. It was like slightly below where he started the season, and then he saw a big uptick at the end of May, and then a pretty decent fall off. But I don't know that he's any different, honestly. So I might play the Padres here. I know Montas has been great, and I know that my numbers have faded him pretty much all year. I'm going to keep digging here. I don't think there's cause for concern with Musgrove. I just think he pitched over his skis a little bit at the beginning of the year.
No, and since June 3rd, he's pitching to like a 4, around a 4 FIP ERA, all that. Like that's not bad. Like you're seeing like a little bit above average there. It could just be one bad stretch of baseball. But as Dream pointed out here, Montas 34.2% swinging strike rate since the All-Star break. That kind of coincides with that 1.95 since then. So I'll just gladly sit this out because it seems like every time that I like go on one of these ones where like one guy's trending since then, that it always.
That's true. They are kind of moving different directions. This is probably a safe one to sit out, but if we're talking about regression to the mean and to talent, I don't know. I feel like
and I do think there's something to be said about guys who might like sit if Musgrove, because he had a slight drop, like they go back. It's been 2 months. Okay, now you figured out some other substance, or it could be legal, like some version of like it's not hard.
They're learning how to walk again.
Right. Like you kind of just have to reprogram, and that's kind of what when Glasnow got hurt. He said like we had no adjustment period. Unfortunately,
I don't think cheaters should get adjustment period.
Right. I'm not saying that either.
Yeah.
And it's not like it would be one thing if like arm injuries went up like crazy. Like that's like maybe something, but like there really hasn't been anything drastic there. So, I said it with Dylan Cease and Giolito. They've seen their spin rates go back up. We're figuring out how to pitch with rosin again. Maybe there's a little bit of pine tar in there. I don't know. Like they're figuring something out. So we'll see how that goes. Garrett Cole and the Yankees need to figure that out if they want to make this playoff push into the wild card game. But Houston at Dodgers, last game on the board. Odorizzi against Scherzer. We both have opinions on this game. Two different. One side, one total. Dodgers minus 204. And the total in this game 8.5, juiced towards the over pretty heavily. You have got a little bit of a good number here. So what side are you on here?
Yeah, I played over. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to get like upper level here. I just think this number is. I think the number is high right now. I think the Dodgers. I wanted to say Nationals. Holy shit! I saw Scherzer. I think the Astros number is a little bit high. It kind of reminds me of yesterday. I don't know. The Dodgers, I think, are getting up there a little bit. You may have an opinion, and maybe you back Scherzer. I don't know. I didn't check, to be honest. But yeah, I got a good number here. This number is a little bit gone at this point, in my opinion. I made this like 9.5, so I wouldn't play too much more than what that says on the screen there, -115 area. I saw some 9s hanging out there now. I saw some 8.5 heavily juiced, like -125, -130. I just like Scherzer's been great. I don't want to diminish him, but he's not, he's given up some runs recently, let's put it that way, and is looking more normal, I suppose, about what you would expect from Max Scherzer. In Odorizzi, for that point, it kind of started the year getting a lot of respect in the market. It's obviously not hanging around much. For some reason, Houston respect isn't really hanging around much, especially in this Dodger series, which I find interesting. But I make him my numbers make him slightly worse than average, probably because I'm still using data from, the last 2 seasons or so. 430 ERA, 440 expected, and then 430 right on his FIP. That all looks about normal. Like, this is almost an easy one for projection systems, because he's just doing everything average, like 44% hard hit, 8% barrels, 8% walks, 22% Ks. Like, I don't know that you could make a guy that's more league average than Jake Odorizzi. So yeah, I do with this Houston team. I think this number is a little bit high now, but I like the over a little bit more, so I played that.
I'm pretty sure back in like 2016 or something, if you could search our text conversation, I think I asked you, like, who's the most average right-handed pitcher? And I think your answer was Jake Odorizzi. Like, I'm pretty sure if I can search for it, I can find that. But yeah, he has, outside of last year, which was just 13 innings, not even going to do it. Like, he's just been average for like his whole career. Like, there's been moments where you're like, okay, he's figured it out. And then the next year you're like, nope, okay, he didn't. But I did play Dodgers here. I thought I was getting a good number. I got excited. And then someone came back on the Astros here, which is fine.
Oh, that came back down. Okay.
Yeah, so it was up to like 220, and I was like, nice, this is great. It's going to take off a little bit. But Scherzer got roughed up kind of by the Padres. Home runs in both of those games against the Padres was tough, and that's kind of always been Scherzer. I remember a couple years ago when me and you have both kind of dug into StatCast data. We were talking about how like a lot of these elite pitchers don't have like elite batted ball profiles, which was interesting, but they were elite strikeout guys. And I remember Scherzer being one, which makes sense. So he gave up 3 2/3. He gave up 7 runs to the Padres. He hit a 429 BABIP and a 19.2% left on base percentage in that game. Like, that's just, I'm not really worried about him. I don't think he's like lights out like he's been, but I think he's a low 3s guy. Dodgers, Betts is back. He played some second base last night. So it'll be interesting. This lineup's healthy again. Their bullpen, I don't know if it's great, but I don't know. Houston did up their bullpen, but like if Odorizzi could get kind of knocked off. I'm looking at some DFS prices. Odorizzi's priced better than Scherzer. That, I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me. It's like, am I seeing that right? I'm seeing like I don't know. I think there's too much respect for Odorizzi here. Yeah. I know Houston's offense is good. This does kind of like sound like when I talk it out loud, it's like Houston is such a big dog and they have a good offense, but I don't know. The Dodgers are better. Maybe I'm on the wrong side here, but the numbers are what they are. I have an edge on the, and it's strictly fading Jake Odorizzi because I think he's average to maybe below average, and I think this Dodgers.
I mean, I'm kind of with you. I'm on over, so
great. Yeah, right. Like,
I'm happy.
I think the runs, like Scherzer could give up, 3, but the thing with Scherzer,
you said it though, like it's all predicated on homers. He almost has a career high strikeout rate right now. His walks are below his career number. Wild. It's pretty insane. He just gives up dingers, and he's always sort of done that. Where like every now and again he'll just give up like 4 home runs in a game for no reason. And it was like a Yankees game a couple of years ago where he just gave like 4 homers in the first or whatever. He just does that sometimes. A lot like Garrett Cole, but better, I think, than Garrett Cole over the course of his career. Of course, it's like this guy's incredible, but every now and again he leaves that fastball up and it just gets tattooed in the left field.
And it kind of happens. You're an extreme fly ball pitcher, right? Like You know, you're going to there's going to be games where that happens. And maybe, you know, the Dodgers, the night game in LA, you know, that
that ball does not carry, especially this time of the year where it's colder at night.
Right. Like down the stretch, like if you're like, he's given a 14.6% home run fly ball rate this year, career high, which is second highest number was last year. Like you're at the point where it's like, all right, the only thing that he's struggling with is home runs, and we're going to put him in a park that it's almost impossible to hit home runs at night. So it is a good matchup.
Yeah, people make a big deal about like the dewy air and stuff. It, honestly, you know, what it is and what I think it is just literally the temperature. It just like you're going to see this time of the year, and I haven't watched many West Coast games to be honest, but this time of the year that, you know, you'll see fans in the Giants and Dodger Stadium that are bundled up. You know,
just
a little cold.
Just talking to my cousin who lives in the South, and he was saying, like, he was talking to our grandmother, and she said, like, "Oh, I heard it's getting cold. Like, you kind of feel football coming." I'm like, you know what? The other day, we've had like a 3-week stretch here where it's really hot. The other day, I walked out. It was like 7:00, and I was like, "Ooh, there's a little brisk."
Really? Yeah.
Like, it was like 60, 67 out. And I was like, "Okay, we're getting down there," and like it's hit the 50s. So. No, I'm with you. I think we are getting to the point where the nights can get kind of chilly.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the forecast right now. The drop off from 8 p.m. Well, that's our time. So 5 p.m. In LA is going to be 87 today, at least according to where I'm looking. And you know, in the back half of this game, it's going to be 71.
I mean, like
it's cold quick.
Yeah, like just like you have to like start the game with your jacket off and then put your jacket on towards the end. So. Yeah, no, I am. I'm with you. I saw the game time start 8:84, and by 11 it'll be 75. So yeah, big drop there. So I'm on the Dodgers there. Let's go best bets. We ran a little over here, but what do you got for best bet?
I played so many totals. I'm like lost in all of this now. Guess that Atlanta over. It's still there. That was my highest edge of the day. Over 9, minus 1.5.
I'm gonna go with that because my other play is Dodgers, and I don't feel like that's best bet worthy. But yeah, I don't understand.
And minus 111 now. I still like that. I'm gonna like that till it hits like 10. So
what's his name? Smiley. I know Smiley has blow up potential, and like he's been good, but it's not like you're sitting there like, okay, he made the stride into like a really good pitcher. You know what I mean? Like, so he's still going to give up some runs.
Yeah.
And like I said, J.A. Happ against righties has been terrible. And I think the Braves are going to put out 8 bats that are right-handed. Yep. So I think Happ gets absolutely wrecked today. So I'm with you. Best bet over 9, like you said, that was what, minus 111 there.
Still good though.
Yeah, you can play pretty much any number at 9, and you're probably going to have some value. So, that is it for us. We'll be back tomorrow breaking down the slate again. MLB slate. At Elite Betting on Twitch, Elite Sports Network on YouTube. If you missed today's episode, head over there. You can watch it. We have the games on the banners there, so you can skip ahead if you want a certain game. But head over there, follow, subscribe, and watch the videos. Head over to Betcha, get a $100 deposit bonus using the code ELITE. Can't beat that. That's pretty solid. Pretty solid deal, as Betcha has been sponsoring the opening line stream for the last week or so. So that is it for us. We will be back tomorrow. Another edition of Opening Line presented by EliteSportsBetting.com. Until tomorrow, good luck on your bets, and we will see you then.